stay out of that orbit of the black hole. Because the kids, will they know what a dairy cow is? I'm not really sure, but will they know? Will they touch fur? And I think that's really important for us to actually sort of take home and say, well, there's real value in what we do in our profession, and keeping those family units and the urbanisation of city veterinarian. That's what I do. Close and kids learning empathy and the role models that our actual animals are.
I think that's a great way to look at what you do, which is, it's about creating memories for families and about creating bonds for families. And that can lead you to all sorts of places, not just in terms of the current services you provide, but other services. And for me, technology is about a way of delivering that easier and in a more, what's the word? You can't beat being there and experiencing it, but you can't always do that. So how do you use, social media? And I was talking to you about, the likes of Vic Crone, globally, who's doing a lot for you guys in regards to, he's got about 80,000 followers globally, who he takes abused and beaten animals and fixes them up, and there's just like thousands of women on there just like gushing, going, and there's me. I've never watched an operation in my life, just watching the surgery on this dog. I wouldn't want to watch a surgery on a person, but on this dog that I've become attached to over social media, totally. And so you just go, and then you go into, augmented reality and, even things like TED Talks and videos online and all that sort of stuff. You can bring to life what you do in a way that's never been possible before. And so I think that your space is really interesting with a lot of the technology coming in terms of how do you do that moving forwards, and then what would a platform look like for the veterinary industry? I think we're getting really upset about killing baby possums, right? That's where we're going. So there's lots of opportunities for you to be tapping into those emotions and feelings of how much we love our animals. Other questions?
Just want to follow on. I think the platform thing's really interesting, particularly in our industry, because I think that for a long time it was like vets in their little boxes and went to the vet and that's what they did, and now it's like, we're such a big referral system that we can start looking into, where like, we end up sending patients to medicine specialists and surgical specialists, and where vet physios working with us, and about acupuncture and massage, and like pets are, God, my dog's my baby. I'd spend the world on him. I'll eat spaghetti can forever while he gets exactly what he needs, right? And so it's like being able to actually work together with all these animal-friendly industries and give people what they need.
That's what my gut says. Is if you look at your pet, who is a member of your family, who you adore and love, sometimes more than your children because they don't speak back, particularly if they're more than a year old and they've done damage. But if you were to track through, Milo's life, what I need and the sorts of kind of things I would do for Milo, you'd find a phenomenal list of things that I do for him. So how do you tap into that, or how do you deliver it in a way that is, is very much about recognising, and this is the female strength, that it is about an emotion. It's about a feeling. It's about love. It's about all of that. And so when you go in to see a vet, if you can be embraced, and that's why I love going to Megan's vet and your vet, is because that's what I get. I feel completely at home. I don't feel, like I'm going to a doctor's or a dentist visit.
I read a blog about a year ago, which was what you were saying about a lot of jobs are going to become automated, and what interested me is they reckoned that a lot of medicinal stuff would be taken over by the computer, that would insert a memory chip from our body into the computer, would tell us what was wrong with us and deliver the medication and whatnot to us, and that would take away the need for a lot of doctors, physios and whatnot, because all the information would be available on this internet thing that they created. Is that what you've been seeing in your trains? Are those the kind of people who have to be worried about their jobs in the next 20 years?
Yeah, definitely.
I actually think it's going to go further, sorry to interrupt, that we actually are not going to just breed. So we're going to select so that we don't have certain conditions that we have now. And genetics is going to be a big thing to prevent certain conditions if we can do so. And that's where the ethics is going to get really interesting, because do we now no longer want to have people in our society that may not be perfect?
Yeah.
And I actually think there's a place for people that aren't perfect.
Yeah, well, Down syndrome's a great debate
Exactly.
that's been happening.
That's one of
That's one of
examples.
the choices that we have, is to treat that disease or that condition out.
But I think in terms of those conditions, genetics is actually so complicated that actually there's only no percentage that you may get that disease. So I don't know if it's quite going to go to
It's coming along. And my son's doing genetics as a master's, so he's teaching me a lot. I'm just amazed
It is
how
incredible.
much it's changed since when I was at university.
So what I'm passionate about, and part of why I ran for the mayoralty, is that so we understand these big shifts that are coming. So one, that we don't kind of wake up halfway through this next decade or so and then suddenly realise we've gone so far, we haven't prepared our people, we haven't started retraining them, that we end up in quite a dire situation. And two, because one, there's incredible opportunities that come with all of this, and two, there's ethical, moral, social decisions that come with every single one of them too. And so how do we get on the front foot as a society and understand, okay, so with driverless vehicles, do we want that? And what do we want to use it for? So for me, for example, as I went around talking to Auckland last year, and everyone went, no, we don't want driverless. By the end of talking to people about it in terms of saving lives, like my parents are, 81 and 74, and my dad's still a good driver, but who knows, in 5-7 years he won't be, and he does, a lot of the driving. And so a driverless vehicle means they can still get around without relying on me to come out. People who are blind, who've never been able to have full control of their mobility, suddenly will have full control. So there's ways in which these technologies can be used, and what I want to see is that New Zealand, we don't bury our heads in the sand, it's not coming because it's too hard a conversation. We get in there and we have the discussion around what's possible with it, and then how do we regulate it, and what do we do with this stuff?
I guess what I want to kind of know is how quickly is it going to come. I work as an animal physio, and every day I'm happy and I love my job and I'm really geeky about it. I love it that much. And I promote it to anybody who's vaguely considering it. I then overload them with words because I'm so excited that they'd even consider doing what I do because I love it that much. But is this job going to exist?
I mean, I would.
Am I encouraging people to train in the industry that's actually not the best and just consider taken over by a computer?
I can think of worse things. I can think of many parents out there who are encouraging their children to be accountants and lawyers, and those jobs are going to go first.
Yeah.
So that, and actually in regards to medicine, the diagnosis is going to go. That will probably go first as well, rather than some of the more technical skills. I mean, I don't know about physio, but I would have thought it would take a wee while for someone to build a robot to replicate what you do. But I don't know. I actually don't know, because and then the other way to look at it is we do have a growing population, and so some of this will be offset by increased needs for certain types of roles because we have to meet the population growth. My personal view is that I think a range of these roles will be picked up or replaced by what we call social enterprise. So that's where a business is effectively set up with a social purpose. So it's run like a business, but it has a social purpose in mind. So all the money goes back into whatever that social purpose is. So it could be, about making Maori Pacifica healthy. So what you'll see is that a lot more community work, I think, will pop up, but in quite sustainable business models where people can make a living. Yeah. So I don't think we're going to have nothing. We just don't quite know what it's going to transition to. I think one, being aware of it, and two, particularly for our children. And if you listen to Frances Valentine, who's pretty amazing in this area, she believes that the kids most at risk are 14 to kind of 21, 24, just come out of university and have old world skills. So they're the ones that we really need to shift. As well.
I don't know if you really have an answer to this. So a lot of this technology is obviously coming and it's amazing and it's really cool. But it really, I guess the personal side of it is we've already got a massive pay, like a big gap in our society between the rich and the poor. And a lot of the poor people are lower skill set that don't have the time or maybe the drive to go and get retrained. So they're just going to be left behind.
Well, that's
while
my
everyone
worry.
else goes, and
Yeah, I mean that's my real
Then
worry.
The phone goes, and then we end up kind of like South Africa living behind bars with security alarms and everything. It's
Yeah.
sad.
Absolutely,
It's
that
not
is
extreme, but
no, it's not extreme. It's a real concern, and I think that's why we need to be having these discussions and these debates now. There's some incredibly effective social programs into underprivileged kids, for example. So in Manaia Kalani, which is in the Point England group of schools, cluster schools, and it's now been rolled out in a range of areas across New Zealand. So the performance of the kids who go through that program, completely different style of teaching based on technology, different pedagogy, the whole lot. And the pass rate there has gone from kind of 36-40% passing NCEA through to 70-80%. So they can do it if you apply technology in the right ways. And I think for me this is about, and that's why I asked kind of what social networks are you on. If you're not on them, it's harder to get on them, because it's not like it's it goes through this growth phase and then bursts and drops. It grows through this growth phase and then it goes to the next one and then it goes to the next one. So it just gets harder and harder to jump on the train of what is possible. For me, technology doesn't mean complete loss of personalisation. In fact, what it means is that you can personalise in a way that's never been possible before, and that, you know, obviously that needs to be complemented with real relationships and empathy and heart and all of that good stuff that we bring. But you're going to be able to understand, communicate, connect with your customers in a way that's just not possible. I mean, you can use augmented reality to show your patients, well, not the dog obviously, but the family, you know, what's going to happen to the dog through the next 6 weeks of his treatment. I mean, and yes, so the first week's going to be hell, but man, this is what the recovery looks like, blah, blah, blah. So the possibilities are there. What you've got to do is just try it, just try the stuff. So I bought a 3D printer, not because I needed a 3D printer, but just to try it and learn actually what my kids do with it. Like, use your kids to get them to educate you as to what's possible. Yeah, but you're right, unless we start looking at how we can get technology into underprivileged lower decile, then they will be left behind, and so that's why we've got to start discussing this stuff.
I think I see probably a lot more positive for this.
Yeah.
I think it's not so much the jobs are gone, it's shifting what you do, but it's also allowing, I think especially in care industries, it allows a human connection, which everybody really wants to do, but never has time to do because you have to do all the writing and document, all this kind of stuff. If you take, that's on a smaller scale, but if you take that all away, it allows people not to have all of a sudden extra time, is to have to put the time into what I want to do with you and with your colleagues and with your groups, and people connect in groups, and I don't think that goes out of fashion.
You're spot on. And so there is optimism 3D. We don't quite know what it looks like. And no one ever wants to go back to before we had a computer or before we had power. Like, you know, we tend to like the change once we go through it. And I was listening in Parliament today to a company called MyCare, which is around how you match community care with patients. And the experience was, you know, for these patients was unbelievable. Like, incredible. And that was entirely based on building a platform business, tapping into, you know, matching up people in terms of caregiver, etc., etc. So, there are some quite phenomenal opportunities. You've just got to be really open-minded to embrace them.
Like, especially what happened with, say, people in elderly care, for instance. They're very stretched. They go out and change them on sheets, but what they really needed is a chat. So they put in like little care robots, and it sounds really cold, but these people were showing their photo albums to these robots, not that they could have a cup of tea or see the photos, but they did that with them because they needed that time and connection. So if that could be a person doing that while someone else changes those sheets, that'd probably be ideal. But it's then you've still found what you really needed.
Has anyone seen Frank, the movie Frank? Which is the
documentaries last year.
The bank, you know, robber who opens safes and things like that, and he's kind of, you know, got old and no one wants to have anything to do with him, and so he's a robot, Frank, and it's about how robot is, you know, he didn't want Frank, but robot, he just grew this bond with Frank, and it was actually quite, in terms of your point of these things technology can bring a dimension, now not replacing human contact, but as part of the mix, part of the mix, you know, instead of having an hour a day of someone's time, because that's all you can afford, actually, to have someone who can do your ironing and all that sort of stuff.
Great.
I'll be in there. Yeah.
the robots might be better. They might not steal. They might not abuse you.